I talked about last time, and in one or two of the other dot connecting programs, are not in the frequency range of what we call visible light, which is the only tiny, tiny frequency range that we can perceive and decode, in fact, while we're in embodiment. Most people, anyway. Some clairvoyants and visual psychics can get further into the energy field and see what most people can't see, but most people are in this visible light frequency range. So if these entities who cannot enter this reality, at least not for long, because of the frequency and the atmospheric incompatibility, if they're going to manipulate this reality, they have to have shall we say, representatives within visible light that can manipulate the world on their behalf. And because they are hybrids, part human in terms of their energetic and genetic state, they are part human, part archon, shall we say. There is a vibrational compatibility between them and this archontic force that there is not in the same way with the general run of the population, because they're not hybrid in the same way. There is a greater incompatibility of frequency. Therefore, it's not impossible, far from it, but it's more difficult for the archontic entities to, if you like, take over their mental and emotional and perception processes and dictate their perceptions and therefore their behavior. But with these bloodlines, there is a compatibility, so they're much more possessible. And in simple terms, they are genetic vehicles, holographic vehicles for this archontic force to manipulate our world, while we think we're being led and dictated to by people in human form. But that's only the level of them that we actually see. So let's have a look at some of these bloodlines. When you do the research, and you know, I have done it extensively, and others have actually specialized in this area of bloodlines, and you find that the people at the top of politics and the corporate world, the banking system, global media ownership level, and all these institutions that dictate our lives and dictate the direction the world's going, in other words, hurtling towards this global fascist dictatorship that Orwell and Aldous Huxley in their books Brave New World in 1984 predicted, not from imagination but from insider knowledge, by the way. You find that their bloodlines go back right far into the ancient world, and that there has been an interbreeding all the way through. Question, why is it claimed that, and has it always been claimed, that royal bloodlines are special? And then you look into that. Why do they claim specialness? Why do we have a head of state in Britain today, like there on that picture, who is only head of state, the Queen of England, because of her bloodline, her family line? Because these people consider themselves special, the blue bloods.
I was going to say blue bloods. We hear that term all the time.
Yeah.
Blue blood, yeah.
Well, according to insiders, the reason they call these people blue bloods, and some that consider themselves blue bloods but are not officially royal, like the Rothschilds and the Rockefellers and such like, the reason they call themselves blue bloods is that in a certain chemical process, their blood carries more copper than the general run of the population, and under a certain chemical process it turns a bluey-green color. That's what insiders have said. So when you look at these people, they appear, and so many others, they appear to come at random into these positions of power. But because of the spider's web, they are manipulated into those positions of power, both in terms of wealth and in terms of politics, to carry out a specific agenda. And if we go to the next image, I mentioned last time, Rich, that you could symbolize the dynamic as a scientist standing outside of a sealed tank because he can't work with the material inside because it's too dangerous. So the scientist stands outside and puts the long gloves on, which allows him to manipulate and work inside the tank while standing outside of it. Now, if you look at that in frequency terms, the archons symbolized here in reptilian terms, because the reptilian form and the classic grey alien form, according to the ancient Gnostic writings, which I talked about last time, they're the two main forms that these archons take, these jinn, these demons, whichever direction you're coming from. That's the form they take most when they do come into a state that we can actually see them. And so the gloves of the scientist symbolically are these bloodlines, because the bloodlines are there to be possessed and controlled and dictated to mentally, and what passes for emotionally, to manipulate the direction of this world to suit where this archontic force wants to take us. Now, if we then look at this and really bring this into the daily world that we perceive, I asked Neil Haig to knock out this graphic for me. It's one of a few of the same type. And, you know, when you research this in detail, you find that wherever you look in terms of all the different areas of society which you see mentioned there, and there are many others, when you do the research and you follow the people involved, you normally end up in the end with things like Satanism and with things like secret societies, etc. And this graphic brilliantly symbolizes where all roads lead to and all roads lead from. So you have this archontic force, the spider in the center of the web. That's what Satanism is worshipping and interacting with. That's what religion is symbolizing with the Old Testament God, which actually, if you go back to the original writings, it's gods, plural, not God, in the original writings. Pedophilia, I mentioned last time how pedophilia is, and why it's connected to Satanism, because it's the way that these entities feed off the energy of children, the way I described last time. Then you look at all these areas, politics, banking, big pharma, big pharmaceutical. In the end, they, in this pyramidal spider's web structure, in the end, what's dictating the direction and the existence of all these different fundamental aspects of society in terms of dictating what happens, they all lead to the same force. And what we'll do after the break is we'll have a look at some of these different sections of that graphic in detail, and talk about how, in the end, the same force is dictating them all, whether it's politics, banking, religion, or whatever.
There is evidence that aliens are manipulating human perception to keep their presence a secret. These beings can change their appearance and memories at will, making it nearly impossible to know whether an individual has been abducted. The idea of life on other planets is an age-old concept. There is an increasing number of people who believe that we are not alone in the universe, and that there are intelligent beings living on other planets. Humans are not the only intelligent beings that exist. The idea of life on other planets is an age-old concept. For years, scientists have been looking for signs of life out in space. Now, a group of scientists believe that we have finally found it. We are not alone. They believe there are many other life forms out there in the universe. Some people don't believe and may think that it's all fake, but the messages are clear enough when you read between them. Those who've seen these creatures want to know what they want, but nobody knows why they're doing this. Some of the more popular theories are that they want to replace humanity with their own species, or that they want to harvest the energy of humans. In understanding this, perception is everything. Everything that you see, hear, feel, and taste are all perceptions. There is no such thing as real truth or reality. What you see as truth or reality might not be true for someone else, because everyone has a different perspective. As a result, the public is beginning to question the legitimacy of all sources of information, including media and politicians. We're living in a world of fake news, misinformation, and social media. Our daily lives are constantly experiencing a form of reality that is greatly limited because we only have access to the information and perspective presented to us by the 5 senses we possess. We don't know what's happening outside our walls or if it's safe out there. Humanity must awaken to the truth.